Governor Christie had no knowledge beforehand of this George Washington Bridge realignment idea, and that he played no role whatsoever in that decision or the implementation of it. We further found no evidence that anyone in the governor's office, besides Bridget Kelly, knew of this idea in advance or played any role in the decision or the implementation of it.
All right, folks, that was Randy Mastro yesterday, the lawyer hired by the Christie administration that I, as a New Jersey taxpayer, paid for $1 million to vindicate Chris Christie in the Bridgegate controversy. The governor held a press conference a little while ago today. Joining us to talk about all of this, and she wrote a column about it early this morning at her Right Turn blog at WashingtonPost.com, is our friend Jennifer Rubin. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how you doing?
Good to talk to you. Thanks for coming back. You think this means much, this vindication by the attorney that the state hired at the behest of Christie?
Well, I think these particular lawyers, some of whom I actually know, are excellent people, and they're not going to hide the ball. I think they have accurately and diligently reported on what they were able to find. Now, they weren't able to question, for example, Bridget Kelly, so it's not a complete, exhaustive study, but I think they're, in all likelihood, telling us the truth, that there was no evidence that they found. I think that's a different question, however, about whether Christie escapes from this sort of Velcro scandal. And there comes a point at which the press conferences and the interviews, he did one with Diane Sawyer last night, become counterproductive. In other words, all they do is absolutely affix this scandal to Christie. So you can't see him without thinking scandal. And I think he and his team have got to, at this point, begin to say less rather than more. Frankly, I thought that's why they were hiring the lawyers, so that the lawyers can deal with these questions and Christie can go back to being a governor. But I think at this point, he operates at his peril in coming out and talking endlessly about it, even if he feels like he's getting a raw deal in the mainstream media, which of course he's going to get. It becomes just a matter of don't think about pink elephants, and now we're all talking and thinking about pink elephants.
No, it's an excellent point. You do wonder why he is doing the media tour to any extent when it's going to be the same old, and that's all people are going to have drummed into their heads. And you point out, and you ask in the headline, they asked the question on your piece, Christie Rebound, and you point out that not only does Christie poll probably the best against Hillary in a imaginary matchup head-to-head, but nobody in the absence of Christie or with the problems Christie has had has skyrocketed or pole vaulted to the top of the Republican heap.
Right. I think people are looking for that person should Christie, in fact, falter. There are a lot of people talking about Jeb Bush. There are people saying, well, maybe Paul Ryan will get back in. There's a lot of interest in trying to get one of these Midwest governors to run. But no one has been found yet who is Mr. Charming, who's going to come sweep the Republicans off their feet and give them essentially Chris Christie without the baggage. In other words, give them somebody who has big bipartisan appeal but doesn't have a scandal that's going to become a distraction. And they haven't found that person. Maybe they will. Jeb Bush says he's going to make a decision whether to run by the end of the year. I think Paul Ryan will do the same, and we'll see. If that happens, then you may see the air, such as it is, fly out of the Christie balloon. But so far, he's kind of been treading water, and that's because the rest of the field has been treading water. So he hasn't missed all that much. And when you're not in the race, every day mixing it up with these people, they tend to mix it up with each other. I use the example of Rand Paul and Ted Cruz mixing it up a little bit on foreign policy. Christie didn't have to wade into it. I think he's more on the line with Ted Cruz than he is with Rand Paul, but he lets Ted Cruz throw some punches at Rand Paul. That's not a bad thing for somebody in the race to let the other guys kind of bang each other up. But I do think at some point he's got to get back to this agenda and this image that he's cultivated, that he is a center-right guy who has been successful, who can, when the chips are down, work out deals with people, and that's essentially his selling card. If he can't do that anymore, his selling card is going to go away.
Right. We're talking to Jennifer Rubin. I want to talk to you about another piece that you put out yesterday about MSNBC and the ratings dive that network has taken in the past year or so compared with Fox and CNN. I mean, the network losing more viewers, greater percentage of viewers. Prime time took a huge hit. And the question has to be asked, does this represent bad news for the left, in addition to the left that, as it exists on MSNBC?
Well, to make a little bit of a pun, it is bad news. It's bad news programming. A lot of the programming is unwatchable. As you've, I'm sure, discovered, if you're somehow cajoled into watching,
I believe me, I'm up on all of every show they have, and Morning Joe is the most palatable one to me. I mean, I like the variety of people and all that kind of stuff, and I know Joe, and but the other hosts, I mean, I don't think most of America would look at them and say, "Wow, I gotta watch this."
Right. Some of it is really pretty angry and pretty screechy and very predictable, obviously, because they say the same thing over and over and over again. So part of the explanation, I think, is a complete lack of diversity and the tenor of leftist politics, which has gotten to be really screechy. If you remember, Air America didn't make it either. That was supposed to be the alternative on the left to talk radio. As a conservative, when everything is going bad, you dread opening the morning newspaper. You're in the business, so you have to look at it, but a lot of people just kind of check out as a matter of self-defense, and I think that's a little bit of what's happened on the left. They just can't bear to look anymore. It's also, I think, a function of the fact that the left has become very Obama-centric. What is this agenda? What do they want to do? I think all they want to do is sort of spin for him and make sure that his ego and his legacy are preserved. But they really kind of fallen flat in the idea business. This has been going on for some time. So when that happens, what else are they going to talk about?
Yeah. Chris Matthews.
We always have stuff to talk about because we're kind of an idea-oriented party as opposed to a personality-oriented party.
I mean, Chris Matthews with, and the other theme on MSNBC is if you say anything that they disagree with, you're a racist. And Chris Matthews, not only several months ago, when talking about Newt Gingrich, said, "Look at him, look at him. He reminds me. He looks like a car bomber." And now he said the same thing just the other day about Donald Rumsfeld. He just looks like a car bomber. I mean, these are sick, ridiculous, things to blurt out. But especially Matthews makes a habit of it.
Yeah, who wouldn't sit down for an hour of that, right? Hard to figure. Go figure.
Now, I got to applaud you for sticking up today. We're going to have ShaneOsborne on a little bit later on and ask him about this. But ShaneOsborne is a hero. Shane, we only got a minute left. He was on that plane that the Chinese brought down in 2001, and now he's running for the Senate in Nebraska, and some of the left and the detractors are trying to say, oh, he should have ditched the plane at that point, not be taken down and forced down by the Chinese. It's insanity. It's so low, I can't even describe how low it is, and kudos to you for writing about it.
Well, thank you. Listen, I don't have a particular favorite. I don't have a horse in that race, but I think when people who have given service honorably get slammed, I think it's incumbent upon people who take military service seriously to defend them, and it just seemed it was very inequitable, and that's why I wrote what I did.
Jennifer, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Jennifer Rubin, ladies and gentlemen, reader at thewashingtonpost.com or washingtonpost.com. The Right Turn column is it's washingtonpost.com/blogs/right turn. Jennifer Rubin. All right, folks, you know what's next. It's Gimme 5 coming up on the Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax Television.
We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.